Okay, cool. We're recording.
Yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate you wanting to record because this is a standard part of everything too, is that we're recording everything to make everything open source for everybody so that, all of our meetings, everything we're doing, it doesn't have to be relearned by anybody. We're kind of, everyone's creating the examples for everyone else. The thing I'm going to talk with George about that we're much more focused on, I really love how George has all the qualitative examples, like you can see everybody else's and you can compare. I'm going more for the quantitative. I'm going more for breaking it down into data so that data can be analyzed and so that we can apply, artificial intelligence, and we can have all kinds of like really best practices about everything for anything. So that's kind of where my mind goes. It's like we're all doing things that other people have done before. There's no reason we can't have access to all knowledge about everything. It's just we don't have a system that we're pouring all of that into. So I'm creating the system to pour all that data into it so we can all, be essentially part of a collective brain, right? Anything that anybody learns now, everyone's learned, and we can all just keep, forging a new path into the unknown. So it's really going to be a quantum leap for society, as I know you can kind of figure out when we go from all of us trying to figure it out on our own to none of us having to figure out anything new except whatever the cutting edge is. So I'm really excited about what we're doing with that.
amazing, brother. Yeah, I totally feel that. Systems thinking is something that I'm really passionate about as well. I look at my life like a whole system, and that's actually how I approach psychology as well. When I'm working with clients, the being itself is a system, and that's how I see it. And so I look for ways to optimize that system, the ego, and all these. It's a psychological terrain of sorts. It's a machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so being able to work with that and think in that way can really help optimize. I mean, this goes down to even like tracking all finances with an individual's life, understanding where the energy flows are going, where is the money coming in, where is it going out? Because that gives you a lot of information. Like you said, when you just are able to analyze the data, you can just start to see patterns and recognize the patterns. And then if you're energetically in tune, you can kind of feel like, okay, like that doesn't feel so good. We need to put like a hole on that. We need to put a plug on that rather. We need to seal that. This is some type of energetic leak that may be taking place within an individual's life.
I love that, man. I was really excited by your introduction, as you know, when you shared it yesterday, and now just hearing more and more. You and I are on the same page. I'm really excited to see what we're going to create together. Because part of what I want to focus on with all of this, I don't know if I got to say it, but really to focus on putting a lot of attention on people like you to really support, this whole process, right? Because again, I'm building the systems, but we need people like you to be able to help the people, get their own system together, right? So like that's such a huge part. And that's where I keep coming back to. It's like the bottleneck in this system is how well people can perform, and how well people can perform is based on, what you teach them.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about how integrated an individual human being is, like the quality of the system that we're able to maintain as a collective human species is dependent on the quality of internal configuration that is happening so that each one of us can be more sovereign. That's the whole point of Lightcraft, is to create sovereignty, which is one of the ways that this is very different from other, you could say, like spiritual gurus or spiritual teachers online, where you can sense shadow energy in that field where people want to make others dependent upon them. And that is not what Lightcraft is about. Lightcraft is all about giving somebody the energy and the tools and the illumination, facilitating that process so that they become sovereign within themselves. They can think clearly for themselves, and that keeps us all safer. That keeps us all better. So let's see. The one thing I want to shine on is that I do feel that you and I have something to create together. I feel that there's something that we can help each other with. So I don't know what that is. And the question I have is, what do you think that you can offer? Like, what is your offering for, I think, like the purpose family and others within the purpose family? Like what ways can you optimize our internal collective,
Yeah, I want to answer that. And I also want to be respectful of the request to be back at 10. So do you want to head back over there, and then either we'll answer it together with the group, or if it should be afterwards, I'm happy to share that separately, whatever's going to work for George, however he wants to handle it. Sound good?
Yeah, I'm happy that the seed has been planted and we can go over to the other meeting.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely am eager to answer that for you. And thank you for asking. I'm super excited for our connection.
Cool. Me too, brother. All
Awesome.
right. See you over there.
In a minute.
Yep.
Okay,
Thanks for
great. So
asking.
we're recording now. So the way I usually like to do this is to just assume that this video will be public if we're in agreement to that. And then if anything comes up during the recording that you think maybe shouldn't be shared publicly, to let me know right then so we can stop the recording and start again. Sound good?
Cool. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Dude, I'm so excited. I'm feeling the energy. I mean, it already was, like I said, and I appreciate it. I know that you're somebody that feels that energy too. So I'm glad that we found each other, and we get to see what we can create now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting to me because those of us who have more of a systems mind, I went to public education. I went to public education. It's really interesting. In elementary school, I actually probably because of stuff that was happening in my personal life, but I ended up being put into a program for kids who needed a little extra attention in order to make the proper grades that is desired. And then I transitioned into being in honors classes and being in those types of like more high performing classes. Um, and I've always had like a really strong interest in science and engineering and mathematics and all this stuff. And it's taken me a long time to decondition myself from a lot of the conditioning that I received when I was younger around achievement and school and academics and this type of stuff. But even just last night, me and my friend were hanging out and in a really great space with each other. And I had a great time illustrating a 3D representation on paper of a geometric shape. And so it's fun to see how those of us who are connecting to this engineering kind of like, well, it's probably a hive mind of some kind, that we all are interconnected with, but we're coming from these different angles. So I'm coming from this very psychological perspective. You have a very strong interest in psychology, and you're also working on these other projects to help bring in the new earth. So it's fun to see how this is all emerging.
Yeah, totally. It is. And, for so long, I've really felt like I need, like a big missing piece for me for a long time has been like social psychologists, basically, right? And even the types of psychology and energy work that you're doing, I didn't even have a word for it, years ago. But like the way back, when you go
Not very
back,
many people do.
what's that?
Not very many people do.
Right,
It's emerging. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. I started an entity called Energetic Planet like almost 15 years ago now, was like that version of Uniting for Action. The videos that it's the same language coming out of, my mouth 15 years ago. And the one thing that I was focusing on at the time was that we needed two things that we needed to address simultaneously. We needed to address our societal systems, and we needed to address our conscious evolution, because without both of them happening simultaneously, there was only so far we would be able to go, right?
Yeah.
And for a long time I focused on the conscious evolution part by doing my best to create like business groups within the conscious living community in South Florida, to be able to have all of those people thrive in their business and be able to serve on a grander scale, and have, and that was my vision of how to help, get society to where it needed to go, as I was going to help all of the people that were helping raise the consciousness succeed, so that we could be raising the consciousness at a much greater level. And then after many years of not getting over that tipping point of, enough people within the system to make it a sustainable system, I just wasn't able to get to sustainability with it. Finally, I kind of withdrew and reset, and it became like the global vision. And I realized now I had to swing to the other side and focus on programming systems to be able to serve society on that whole global level. So that's been, the kind of the trek that I've been on the last few years. And, it's in concert and, with people like you that are really going deep into the like, how do we, deal psychologically and sociologically, right? And actually, a lot of the way that I look at Uniting for Action as a system is incentivizing, higher vibration behaviors and that sort of thing. And so it's like, I want to have people like you showing up to help kind of guide the way and say like if people could be doing this, then that would like really help. So okay, so how do we incentivize that within the system so that like more people are incentivized to do that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's exactly where finances comes into play. So or at least one of the ways that it comes into play. So I'm involved in several like really high level projects. And one of the projects is an ecosystem that is called Omni One. And it's a new Earth paradigm ecosystem. So the idea is, how do you incentivize a person to live their dharmic path and have a system that incentivizes these types of choices and decisions, where it's no longer, oh, I have to work a job and then my passion is my side hustle or
Right,
whatever.
right.
It's the exact opposite. It's you come into the ecosystem and it's like, all right, let's get to know who you really are. What are your true gifts? What can you truly offer? And how can the ecosystem benefit from your true offering? Which of course it will, because the true offering is your most powerful form. Any ecosystem that anybody would be involved in that would say no to your true essence is not the ecosystem that is designed in the higher vibration. So I have started to experience this on a personal level, where I'm interacting. I've been paid now for my services and my true expression, my genius. The system is incentivizing the blossoming of my consciousness. That is what I see that we're moving into. And one of the other things I wanted to mention was that with like big companies like Google, Amazon, these giant institutions, I used to really rail against these companies, very much in that victimhood, feeling threatened and all this type of stuff. Now that I've achieved a certain level of love within my heart, I no longer fear any type of, for example, blackmail. I no longer feel any type of, because when I was younger, I had different addictions and different things that were happening. And I used to be very ashamed of those things. But now that I've healed those things, I actually am like, yeah, like that is where I came from. Like I like pay homage to it, and I see like the main thing that I'm seeing and that came to me during our call with George and Daniel was, look, we're using Google services. We're using these giant companies to help create the new Earth. Do these giant companies have shadows within them? Of course they do. They're huge. They're global. They're taking in trillions of dollars, like the consciousness of these systems is being optimized as well. And whatever will not shift over to higher vibration will eventually fall away, because they are the lower vibe, what we can just say is the lower vibration, the incongruencies of not truly being incentivizing to the human soul. If that exists within systems, we're creating the systems that are incentivizing the growth of the human soul. So anything that is not going to be nourishing to an individual will naturally start to just fall away. It's one of those things where you either jump on, it's like you come onto the bandwagon and see the logic and the light of what is happening, or you hold on to the attachments, and then those things will eventually shrivel away, and they will become a thing of the past. It's like a giant ego that's being shed.
Yeah, I
So
appreciate the way that you see it and the way that you describe it. You and I are seeing very similar things, and a lot of where my mind goes when you talk about that, where my mind has gone in the Uniting for Action system, is to make it very much about voting with dollars, basically, right? That our dollars support what we want, and we withdraw our dollar support from what we don't want. And it's just that at the moment we don't have the discernment we can't see inside of those companies to know where all of our dollars are going. And, am I actually supporting, the rainforest being burned down by any of the, businesses that I'm giving my money to now? I wouldn't know, right? And so it's that level of detailed tracking and following the dollars, and really all businesses, like you're saying, eventually having to answer to people that are holding that higher vibration that becomes the standard. So then again, in the future, the way that I see it is that all businesses are just competing to inspire us with what they are doing, right? And that becomes the competition. So that's kind of the way that I see our society like evolving, and those are the systems that I'm creating to help create that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so happy that you're doing that. And I'm so happy to see you doing that. I'm so happy to see that this is occurring. And it is really like a systems thing as well, because it's all a reflection of consciousness. Like, for example, I used to, again, I grew up, I was a very rebellious type of person. I was in honors classes, but I was a very rebellious type of character. And to the point where I could maintain decent relationships with my teachers, but I wasn't fully off in that realm. But I have this rebellious spirit. And when I was younger, I really was more in that revolutionary mindset of tear down the government, tear down these systems, destroy them. And to a degree, yeah, there is a little bit of like composting that takes place, but my mindset has totally shifted to where now, instead of like, I look at the government and the only thing, instead of feeling attacked, I feel love towards the government. I feel love towards the police force. I feel love towards Amazon and Google, because the thing is that when you see that a system is self-destructive, it's simply self-destructive. It's confused. It's hurting itself. Right. So a government that is like not acting in ways that are in coherence with integrity, that entity then needs awareness, needs illumination, because when you gain that awareness, then you can, the entity will decide within themselves that they want to change, because it's so self-evidently better. It increases the health of all involved. So there's no logical way that once you see that, it almost becomes impossible to become self-destructive, because the irrationality is seen for what it is, and entities want to be thriving. They want to be, that's our desire for life. So this is where in deep psychological subconscious work, I'm working with people to help them become aware that, okay, this thing that you're doing, and with aspects of my own life, this thing that is occurring is actually not aiding in the expansion of consciousness. And once that's seen, things can be let go of. So this goes into spiritual teachings of attachment, Buddhism, and all this stuff, which, by the way, I think that there's a whole new religion that is coming online. A lot of what spirituality, ways of seeing the metaphysical, the back end, right, of this reality. I sense that there's been so much work done within Christianity and Buddhism, and all these different religions have so much potency. And I'm also seeing areas that I think are going to become more illuminated, that shine more light on reality, what we're doing here, and how these things operate, how they work.
I hear you, brother. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited. And, so one thing I'll just throw out there, I know you may only have a few more minutes based on what you said. We're having our next leadership council meeting this coming Monday. And so I want to have whatever conversations you and I need to have before then, to have you there if you want to be there, because I would definitely love for you to be part of this right away. You're definitely not only there, but there, so
Yeah.
what I'll do is I'll share with you the link to the Leadership Council page. I'll send it to you in a few minutes so you can see just the structure for that, and I'll send you some other pieces. I know we've got there's a lot for us to talk, so I don't want to kind of like jump ahead, but I want to put that out there as a marker for you, so it's from 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on Monday, the 21st.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I would love to be there on Monday. Thank you so much for saying that. And that works actually really well for my schedule. So any
That's
conversations.
Awesome. Yeah,
Uh,
and also I want to make clear too, there are expectations, of course, for the leadership council members. So I'll send you the expectations,
okay.
time, finances, relationship capital, so you understand what's all involved. But I just want to plant the seed, and then we'll have whatever conversations we need to have between now and then to either have you in or have you out. But I just have to, it's almost like I have to get that out, because like, yeah, I'm so like appreciative of where you're at, and you know what a contribution you are, and how much I want to, you know, start creating with you right away.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, you know, I do have some time. So if you want to have, if there's space now, I'm happy to do it now. Otherwise, Sunday would be good for me to have those conversations. So whatever works best for you.
Okay, yeah, I have time as well. I'm surprisingly not fading yet, so I'm energized by the conversation. So yeah.
Yeah.
So we can either jump to the leadership council, or we could just go back to where you were just sharing and organically get there, or you know, you tell me what you'd like to know or where you'd like to explore together right now.
Well, yeah, I would love to, I think jump into the leadership council. What is it? And what is happening on Monday? Yeah, I would love to just hear more about that.
Yeah, okay, great. So, you know, as I shared with you, the overview of Uniting for Action, it's a membership organization of the people that want to come together collectively to create results together, right? So that's the overarching thing. And like I shared, it's born out of this desire to be able to create sustainability on the planet, to build systems that will get us to that level of scale, right? So just to kind of give you a quick tour of the website with some of the pieces, so you can go back in, you know, later and look at whatever you want. Um, so like I said, let me actually take a step back and I'll share.
I love the name, by the way, Uniting for Action. That's
Yeah,
so good.
thank you.
Yeah, in the work that I do, it's becoming, you know, there's this concept in spirituality of the different planes of reality, and the etheric or the astral and the physical and whatnot, and how everything comes. Once things manifest in the physical, that's when you know that's action, that's change, that's physical. Things are changing physically. So I love the wording that you have there. It's very powerful.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I feel fortunate that I was able to get that, and we can be in Uniting for Action. Yeah, because it is, like you're saying, so self-explanatory, both in the uniting and the action. It is perfect for what we're doing. So it's
Yeah.
great. So like I said, you know, membership organization of those that are coming together along with the solutions provider. And this is the thing, is you'll see the more we keep talking, I have solution after solution after solution after solution, you know, that are going through my head all of the time. It's just a matter of like, how much can I get out of my head in my lifetime, you know? And the one solution that we're focusing on right now, as I mentioned, is the manifestation process, just because the manifestation process is what I actually was leading with a couple months ago, was the collective solutions framework. So again, just to show you for a moment, the collective solutions framework gets into, as George said, how, went to the wrong place. Went to the wrong page. I just changed the link to that. So with the collective solutions framework, this is the framework which I just briefly, you know, touched on, which breaks it down this way. And this overview video is a great video if you want to watch it later, like a 5 or 10 minute video, which gets into how we break things down, again, whether it's climate, deforestation, pollution, whatever it is, the issues, breaking those issues down into the resources that are coming together to support that issue, the experts that are been studying these issues forever and are the experts in those areas, coming up with global strategies using our collective resource pool, managing those collective resources, and then outreach to kind of complete the positive feedback cycle. So this is what, and it's kind of broken down here, but this is what I was leading with a couple months ago when I was reaching out to prospective leadership council members, because this had actually evolved out of the work I did with the interns that I had been working with over the last year. So just to give you a very quick overview, take a quick drink.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a year and a half ago in the summer of 2020 when I had focused on the systems aspect of Uniting for Action. I'll go back even further because it fits in with what you were sharing, and I think it'll provide a good energetic arc for you of what we're talking about. So I had these ideas again way back when Uniting for Action I started Uniting for Action back in 2007, or not Uniting for Action, but Energetic Planet back in 2007. So that was the first time, actually it was in 2006 with my ex-girlfriend, we created Happy Dream Planet, which was really the first incarnation. So Happy Dream Planet, and then into Energetic Planet, then Expand the Love, then Higher Vibe Life, then Uniting for Action. So it's been all
okay, cool
evolutionary paths, right? And so back when I was in Uniting for Action, or I keep saying Energetic Planet back in 2011, I happened to be in New York over the summer. And I was with a really great group of the conscious, up in the conscious movers and shakers, so to speak, in New York. I don't know if you had any connection back then, Unitribe, if you know that name. So I was hanging out with all the Unitribe people in New York, and they took me, because I was just, hanging out with them. We were doing everything for the summer, and they were doing twice a week flash meditation mobs in front of in Wall Street, in front of the stock exchange building in Wall Street. And this was actually prior to Occupy Wall Street. So Occupy Wall Street hadn't existed yet. They were doing these weekly meditations in front of Occupy. And actually, let me just bring it up here because it'll.
Yeah, so when the Occupy movement started happening, from my memory, I was quite young when that was happening. And that's when I first started to kind of have some bigger awakening. So I started watching like documentaries, and I remember Zeitgeist, for example, was a really big documentary series that just blew my mind. I mean, it took me a long time to digest what I learned there.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand that. I went to actually to visit Jacques Fresco at the Venus Project. So I got a chance to get the tour from Jacques back in the day, which was awesome.
Amazing. Yeah, a lot of the ecosystem that I mentioned I'm a part of here locally in Bali is very influenced by Jacques Fresco.
Nice.
And kind of like the whole vibe that was happening there.
Nice. I'm taking you back through some hidden pages now, just at the moment. This is like my background to introduce people Uniting for Action a few years ago. I actually need to kind of get them back out in a certain way. So you're going to see like almost all of these pictures that you'll see are photos that I took, and mostly from events that I produce. So this was a pretty epic event that I produced on Biscayne Bay in Miami, one of my really most awesome events. And this was me, again, talking back in 2011 was when I shot this, again, talking about the same sorts of things I'm talking about now. Here's what it looked like. So this was published in 2008. This was the postcard I was handing out. Imagine a world where everyone, I'll let you read it.
Yeah, so wait, that was you?
Yeah, that's me.
Wow, brother, that's so funny. I'm a shapeshifter as well. I actually just I had a beard and long hair not up until recently, and I totally shifted and moved some energy around. So that's hilarious to see.
Yeah, well, I'll have to show you this. Still have there.
Oh, there you go. Still got it. It's in the video. It doesn't look like you have that at all.
Right, I know, and that's the thing. It's funny. So yeah, this but just read this card because you'll totally get, again, that this is actually a 15-year arc or more that I've been on.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely, brother. It's so cool to see how dedicated and devoted you've been for years and years of your life. I really honor that. I'm a young guy, and I'm creating I'm paving the way in my own life and working through my own channels and meeting people like you and some other guys that I've met here within the local community. You know, people have been working on this stuff for 20, 30, 40 years. This is a collective effort. So the more that we can come together as elders and young people and warriors and chiefs and the whole gamut, this is a collective effort. You know, it's the great work of humanity. So thank you. Thank you for your service and for being here.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the acknowledgement. And it's perfect. And this, you know, was, again, this was us meditating in front of the stock exchange building. So this was literally 1 month before Occupy Wall Street started. And the thing is that I wrote it in the description here, is that basically I was visualizing Occupy Wall Street while I was in that meditation. And then a month later it was happening. So it was really,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was really pretty extraordinary. And it was so great for me because I was seeing all the energy bubbling up in society, but I was also seeing this, you know, us and them, you know, consciousness, you know, the 99%, the 1%, like you were talking about, the victimization. I was seeing that the victimization model, you know, was front and center of the messaging, that the 1% is oppressing the 99%, right? And
Yeah.
so I actually went to New York to go meet, because it started after I'd come back to Florida. I went back to New York to try to meet with the organizers and try to get, you know, them to see that, like, that messaging was not going to achieve the ultimate result because it was a divided messaging. But when I was in there, I saw that there was more dysfunction, you know, than that, and it wasn't going to be a simple conversation, that sort of thing. I came back and started getting into building Energetic Planet. So, you know, again, all of these videos are the same sorts of things, but I started producing these events. And like I said, this was the path that I was on, was to create these events that featured all of these yoga instructors and coaches and meditation and sound healing and organic food and all of that sort of thing. So that
Wow.
was what I was doing, was I was creating all of these networking events and creating all this networking and connection with all the people in the community in South Florida. So that was this path through Energetic Planet and then into Higher Vibe Life. And some of these people actually are part of the Leadership Council now, you know, coming back again. This is a whole nother aspect of my past, of what I've done to actually produce this event, but also help produce this group of women, the Goddess Dancers, actually, and put it together with this is one of my ex-girlfriends, Lisa, who is one of the founders of the Goddess Dancers. And we created this whole, you know, thing that it's been amazing. You know, we did lots of events, lots of ceremonies. We went really deep into all of that. I was so inspired because, like, this woman here, young woman, had never, she had never performed, had never sung publicly. Hold on 1 second. I just lost my view of you. Are you there? Oh, you're off. That's why.
Okay. Cut out.
Yeah, no worries. So what I was saying is, just as an example, this woman here had never sung in public before, and she sung in this performance. And since then, now singing is her profession. Now she's a professional singer.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
not only her, but a couple of the other women here had never been, like, up on stage, like being a goddess, like embracing their goddess energy in front of a crowd, in front of the community. And again, afterwards came up to me and said, "Oh my God, thank you, Jared, for creating this. This is so amazing. Now I know myself in a new way. Now I want to express myself in a new way." I was so inspired by that, that a month later, I created this Divine Feminine Expressions event. So I created an event to accentuate that even more. I don't know if you ever ran into Paloma Deve, you know who she is. She used to be in the Guru Ganesha band, if you know that group. But anyways, this whole event with all of these women, what I did was just create a stage for them to express themselves in song, in dance, in costume, however they wanted to. And it was such, again, an amazing event. And I'm sharing all of this because you get a sense of, the depths that I went into the divine masculine, the divine feminine, of the energy that I was holding to be able to support the women and expressing themselves. And that's been, again, kind of a repeated journey, or a consistent journey that's been a bit back burner lately, but, is a part of my history and future as well. Are you still there? I'm not seeing you, Dana.
On this tour, because
Sorry, go ahead. Oh no, you paused again. Can you hear me?